Between April and September, expect to see tight, close quarter racing. The Porsche Esports Supercup.
Green flag drops, away we go from the start of this final feature race in the Porsche Esports Supercup. Brilliant launch from Joshua Rogers at the front there. Beneke having to go a little bit defensive from Jared Filsell as they come into the Rettifilio for the first time. Beneke though round the inside of Job. Brilliant move to get himself past Filsell. So it's championship 1, 2 and 3. Currently 1, 2 and 3 in this race as they head on through Curva Grande for the first time here in this feature race. And still, well, as Jamie Fluke is putting pressure on behind Job and also Tatella as well. The side-by-side action going into the chicane. Umashima is one of those involved in that one. Oh, there's a little bit of contact. Sedgwick involved in that one. Still sorting themselves out and still keeping everyone on tracks. That's good to see. We're looking back then from the Englishman Jack Sedgwick into Lesmo 2. Behind him is Antoine Higelin for this time being. That's all over 11th and 12th place out of the Lesmo and down into odds. The Ascara chicane for the first time. It is Rogers from Beneke. Beneke sticking with Rogers and they're pulling out a little bit of a gap between them and Sebastian Job behind them as they're heading out the Ascara chicane for the first time. Everybody's running here so far in this race, which is great to see because we want to see a really good fight towards the end of this championship. Just a queue of cars behind then as they look down the straight going into the Parabolica for the first time in this feature race. But right now Rogers is in the box seat here, 0.4 of a second ahead of Beneke, but those two trying to pull away from Sebastian Job.
Yes, they are. So Rogers leads the first lap here of the final feature race of the season. Beneke in tow as well as these two cars try to break away at the front of the field. They haven't ditched Job just yet, but Joby makes a mistake in towards the Rettifilio. Here comes Jared Filsell, the Australian now on the outside coming through Curva Grande then. Is he able to keep it there and keep it in contention for the Del Roger? Here comes the challenge for the race lead perhaps as well. You can see it further down the road. Beneke, he had a look there over Rogers, but he's not going to commit to any move just yet. Onto the brakes into the Del Roger then. Job still under threat, but he's able to keep it at bay as we see a big stack up coming through there. Everyone getting away cleanly as, well, the second lap here of this feature race seems to have got itself off to a very clean start as well.
We have had Tommy Erstgaard go around at the back of your field, I've noticed on timing screen. By the way, timing is available on racesport.tv/timing to keep up to date with everything going on in this race. But it's that battle at the front that we're focusing on right now. And it is between Rogers and Beneke. What a duel it has been between these two in this championship. Beneke maybe not getting the race wins compared to Rogers, but he's been there, he's scoring points, and that's what he's definitely been good at doing. He's been consistent throughout this championship. Rogers, as we mentioned, 3 feature races in this championship so far compared to Beneke's 1. So you can see how the results have sort of panned out here as we look a little bit further back. Jared Filsell putting the pressure on Job, and it was looking a little bit unsettled was Job as they headed out of the Parabolica across the line once again. And Filsell in that slipstream really looking to the inside, but he's not making any moves just yet. He's staying in line here.
Yeah, Job has to be a bit careful here. He does have a slight bit of damage to the bodywork on the front of his Porsche 911 Cup car, so he's going to be really hurting in terms of the extra drag on that Red Bull Racing Esports car. You can see its front right damage there on Sebastian Job, so that's going to be hurting them, that is for certain. But now Jared Filsell will look to try to abuse that fact. Perhaps we have a little bit of fighting further back through the field though. That's Marcus Jensen we're riding on board with now, and well, he's battling up against Graham Carroll, so it is the Dane versus the British driver then for positions just outside of your top 10. Everything seems rather calm, interestingly enough, Paul.
Oh, don't say that. Well done. You've just given it the commentator's curse. Yeah, as we head out of the Lesmo 2 then. Looking at Gregor Hutu, Jamie Fluke, also Thomas Tutela as well. Jared Filsell and Sebastian Job all together in a queue of cars there, all fighting for third place in this line of traffic. And it only takes one driver to make a mistake or to have to check up, and it ruins the flow of those cars in that queue. And before you know it, you get freight trained if you make a mistake and say run wide or run off track, as Kazuki Mishima now onto the back of this queue. Kevin Ellis Jr. right in front of him. Japan versus Great Britain. Although Kevin won't like me saying that, so the Scotsman in 8th place then going across the line. And these drivers, they're all just, they know that they've got the time to make moves in this race. It is the feature race. Looking to the front of your field, in fact. Talk about making moves. Here's a money move, and it's Beneke down the inside. He almost outbraked himself into the Rettifilio there. But those two switching positions and compromising themselves through that chicane just allowed Sebastian Job and that queue of traffic behind to close up a little bit. Here comes Rogers though. He's trying to make the comeback straight away through Curva Grande with the slipstream, but Beneke is going to stay in front for the time being.
Paul, Beneke wants everyone to get involved, because just him finishing P1 with Rogers finishing P2, that still gives Rogers the championship here. He needs to put as many cars between himself and Rogers if he's going to keep the dream of the championship alive. It's a lot of cars, yes, but it's still simply what he needs to do. If he can come home here and say that he's won the feature race, then he's probably done all that he could do in terms of the event here today. And well, as a result of those guys going side by side, it has achieved the aim of keeping all the other drivers now locked in on the draft of your race leaders. So Beneke knows exactly what he's doing here. He's like Kimi Räikkönen.
Through the Ascari chicane once again, Job, he just sees drivers in front and he wants to get a result here, because really, he wants to finish off this season on a high. Of course, winning the 2 races last time out at Laguna Seca. And now he's got a sniff of a possible victory here. He's got a slipstream as we'll look further back down your order. They're almost going 3 wide down the back straight. In fact, they are going 3 wide down the back straight. Almost contact between 2 of your drivers. The 83 car of Bobby Zielinski has got heavy front end damage. That's compromising his run, as Phoebe as well trying to make the move. But we'll look to the front here, because Rogers has made it back past Beneke, and here comes Sebastian Job now getting involved in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So Job definitely now a threat to your top 2 runners, and well, double slipstream as well coming through Curva Grande, so he's going to be catching up ever faster, ever faster. Beneke almost right onto the back of Rogers there, was thinking about giving a love tap to the bumper in towards the Del Roger, deciding against it. You can see how heavy over the curb each and every one of these Porsches are going through there, and well, you just need to find every single sort of 100th of a second possible by doing that. And now through first Lesmo, through the second one as well. You got to be careful with the off tracks here in the most recent batch of iRacing. It's a lot more strict there on the exit of the corner than it once was, and of course, you know, you don't want to be racking up those instants. We do have an instant limit of 25 here today. You go over that limit and you are disqualified from the event. Up in towards Ascari then, Beneke close as ever. Sebastian Job still in with an opportunity as well, but Rogers, he's so good, he's so damn good coming through the Ascari chicane, and here comes Job as well, similarly awesome through there, brings it side by side then with the German of Beneke in towards Parabolica, and Joby goes deep on the brakes into here. He's able to secure the position. Rogers, he's loving seeing this in his wing mirrors right now. He's seeing his main championship contenders just fight it out, and he's able to run away with things at the front of the field. Beneke, look at the waving that Job is doing, trying to break the draft from Beneke. Beneke comes back at him, coming down the middle of the pit straight. Across the grid they will go. Beneke has to get himself back in line though, and get back onto the brakes for the first turn. So a big fracas there, but it results in Joe being P2 now.
Yep, so Job then up into second place there. We'll have a look at the replay then. I think Benecke actually picked up a little bit of a slowdown penalty through the Ascara chicane. Maybe could have crossed the first part of it, or maybe it's just a bad exit. Maybe actually it is a bad exit out of there, and he just pulls over. He realises that it's futile holding on to the position, lets Job through. But what that does mean is that Job now, as we go back to live pictures there, we're a third of the way through this feature race, and it is Rogers ahead of Sebastian Job, the Englishman. It's Australian and Englishman with a German in third place, another Australian in fourth place of Jared Filsell, then the Finn of Thomas Tutela, the Northern Irishman of Jamie Fluke, the Finn of Gregor Hutu, and the Scotsman Kevin Ellis Jr. rounding out your top 8 of your field. But it's this front 3, that's what we're focusing on at the moment, because these 3 drivers are all battling it out for the championship and for a piece of that championship prize pool, because of course it's not just the winner of the championship who gets, okay, they get the biggest prize, but second, third as well, they get a nice comfortable prize as well as they head on into the Parabolica once again. And we'll look at this one there. Job is just not quite up there with Rogers at the moment. He's dropped back to half a second between him and Rogers, and Benecke there in third. Well, he's in that draft. He's got the double draft then, so he's got the draft from Rogers and from Job as they head on down the pit straight once again. Will he look or will he stay behind? Really, these two need to work together right now to try and make the move on Joshua Rogers and to try and force him down into this pack.
Yeah, that's simply what you need to do right now, because if, for example, Maximilian Benecke wants to take this championship, him winning the race, he needs to have Joshua Rogers finishing 9th or below to make it work in terms of the maths there in the points. So they basically need to rattle Josh's cage, but make him uncomfortable. But right now, he's in the most comfortable spot that he's been all season, and it's the place that he wants to be. It's at the front of the race and trying to gap these cars. You got a bit of side-by-side a little bit further back, though. That was Bootsloop and Hijlan heading their way through the De La Roja. That's Bootloop heading his way through. He started P21 after that sprint race incident. He's up into P13 already, so the Frenchman is starting to recover things here in the middle of the feature race here today, and well, he'll be feeling very sorry about how that incident turned out in the first race.
Certainly will, as they go through into the Ascara chicane once again. Your leaders will focus on again, and it is a queue of cars, because there's the Australian Phil Sell, and he's dragging a lot of cars along with him behind this lead trio. Of course, there you can see them all there in a queue. We've got cars pulling out, just trying to see, or trying to get into people's mirrors or things like that, just trying anything they can to make a difference here. But Rogers out the front here, coming across the line once again, and he's trying to break that draft here at the front of your field. He's moving about a little bit, but has decided now to stay on the left hand side of the pit straight. But he just seems to be so good through the Parabolica. It just seems to get such a better run than the rest of your field here, Connery, as we've still got battling between Fluke and also Gregor Hutu.
It's through the higher speed corners, arguably, that Rogers, he just makes complete mincemeat out of it. Ascari particularly strong, like you said, Parabolica as well, and that's so important to get the launch down the pit straight here at Monza. So it's no wonder that he's doing very, very well here today. The top 3 in the championship still P1, P2 and P3 here. Benecke riding on board then with the German as they head through the trees into the first Lesmo, and well, you know, it's only going to be a matter of time now before Benecke start getting a little aggressive. And, well, Job hasn't really been in a position to be aggressive with your race leader at this stage. Rogers is doing a very good gap at managing the gap despite the effects of the draft here. He's just faster in all of the right places.
As they head on downhill once again, you can see the big movers and shakers there on the left hand side of your screen. Past Jurgis, great stuff to move up 9 positions in this race into 16th at the time of that graphic there. But yeah, these drivers, they're all trying to fight each other, but all need to work together as well as they head on down into the Parabolica. Look at Fluke now, come under pressure from Gregor Hutu through the Parabolica. Hutu holding a little bit of a tighter line than Fluke then. Obviously, Eva has a slightly better setup that's looked after its tyres a bit more, or maybe just able to work the throttle a little bit better, but he was able to hold that tighter line, which means that he can get a bit more of a better run out the corner, down the straight, in towards the chicane once again, the Rettifilia. And there's still absolute nose to tail is this gaggle that Fluke. Good run out of the Rettifilia there, heading towards Curva Grande, and he's looking ahead, he's not looking behind. He wants to get Thomas Tatala, the Finnish driver, to move over and let him by into 5th place. These drivers are actually losing Jared Filsell a little bit here in this gap. The Jared Filsell's been able to just gap them out a little bit. So it's your top 4 all just working together, and then a little gap to Tatala, Fluke and Hutu and Ellis Jr. and Umashima. Oh, and Mitchell de Jong's up into 10th place as well. So even though he's out of championship contention, Mitchell de Jong having a really strong second race here, Conor.
Yeah, just just hoping to pick up the pieces here at the end, and well, he has a pretty comfortable points gap over the next driver in the standings, and that actually will be the driver of Jared Filsell. So it's not like he has to worry about him. So he's pretty secure in terms of that 4th place finish there in the championship, which is still worth a good amount of money. Kevin Ellis Jr. though, big corner cut coming through Ascari. He'll have to serve a slowdown penalty here, so has to let Umashima through. De Jong is trying to file his way through as well, and De Jong will take the opportunity to try and get past the Japanese driver. Looks to the inside for the Parabolica, but decides not to go for it. Causes Umashima to actually have a little bit of a missed apex there in terms of the first part of that very long sweeping right-hander.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the replay there of Ellis Jr. You see how he gets up over the curb. That's what sends him wide through the final part of the Ascari, up over the curb. We'll see it again from on board. So there's sausage curbs right there. That kicks him across the inside of the final left-hander. And all of a sudden, Ellis Jr. has to give up those positions. Back to live pictures then. And it's Ellis Jr. right behind Umashima, who's lost the position to de Jong. But we'll look forward then to your lead battle again. And it's still as you were really between these three. There's no real moves being made here at the front. Job is trying to show his nose now to Rogers. Maybe he's been looking after his tyres a little bit, looking after the car, and now starting to push on and put the pressure on Josh Rogers at the front of the field. But Rogers has been at the front from the start of this race. He did lose the position for a lap to Max Benecke in this one, but he then moved back in front. He's stayed there in the lead, but Job, Benecke and Filsell there as well, all together as they go down the hill, plunge downhill underneath the banking, the old oval circuit, uphill once again into Ascari, up over the curbs. You can attack these curbs a lot. You can see how Rogers, look at the different line that he's taking, and look at the speed that he carries through the Ascari chicane. This is one of the points where he has such an advantage over everywhere else. He's got the Ascari absolutely nailed down, and the corner that he's got nailed down is this one right here, the Parabolica. He just seems to be able to carry just that little bit more speed compared to the rest of his field once again on the exit.
Yeah, he gets such a good launch off of these corners. You know, he's leaving Job and Benecke in his dust, basically, coming down on towards these straights. And now they're going to bunch up once again, coming into the first chicane. Benecke from long range, not going to go for it. It did force Job to go slightly defensive there, down into the braking zone. So he was definitely thinking that might be a possibility, but Benecke still playing it passive at this stage of the race. You do have Jared Filsell just on the outside looking in on this one as well, so definitely don't count him out of things. And well, he's not in the championship, but he still wants that money for finishing on the podium, right?
Well, yeah, don't forget these drivers that finish on the podium in each race get prize money, $1,000 for the winner of each of the feature races, $400 for second and $200 for third place. So still these drivers could be earning some handy pocket money in this race as they go through the Lesmos once again. Hutu putting the pressure on Jamie Fluke further back in 6th and 7th positions, the Northern Irishman and the Finnish driver down underneath the banking once again, up, and they will go into the Ascara chicane once again. Don't forget, with just about a third of the race to go here, that Porsche would like to hear your views on the 2019 Porsche Esports Supercup. Go to go.racespot.tv/Porsche to take part, and you'll get the chance to win exclusive Porsche designed headphones worth almost €400. That's go.racespot.tv/Porsche to take part in that survey. But looking at surveying the field here as we're heading on into this final third of the race, then Connery, really that front three, they haven't made any moves yet, and we're going to be starting to see them get a little bit more ambitious towards the end of the race here.
I mean, when you're coming into the final couple of laps of the final race of the season, you know, that does a funny thing to some drivers, let me tell you that. So there will be, when it comes to those final couple of laps, there'll be no holds barred, that is for certain, between these three right at the front of the field. Still have all to play for in terms of the podium money. Of course, the championship money is looking relatively securely. Joshua Rogers is at this point. There's a big battle though further back. Fluke and Hutu getting so close into the Della Roja. Fluke able to work his way defended there in towards the Della Roja chicane. Mitchell de Jong having a look as well, and that just allows Umashima to get himself involved into the first Lesmo. He goes, able to squeak that Burst Esports car ahead to the Japanese driver. So that's one gains there from Umashima. He's well, he had a strong sprint race. He's having a relatively strong feature race as well.
Yeah, big moment there for Jamie Fluke on the exit of the second Lesmo. You saw him just landing a bit squirrely onto the gravel, but down towards the Ascara chicane once again. De Jong losing out that position to Umashima as they come through, and he will get another look from on board with Jamie Fluke, so you can see how through the first Lesmo, that one's fine. It's this one here that gets a little bit more uncomfortable, doesn't get his line right, runs it out wide, all of a sudden, oof, just a little twitch on the wheel. It looked more dramatic from off board, but still, it would have been a high mouth moment. De Jong making a move to the inside of Umashima then, so the American versus the Japanese driver as they go through the exit of the Parabolica. Once again, Umashima forced out wide there, and that's going to allow Kevin Ellis Jr. to make a move. But speaking of making moves, look at that race lead then. It is Job going to move to the head of the field, ahead of Joshua Rogers into the Rettifilio, and Rogers now loses that position. Has Job just looked after his car, looked after his tyres, and then decided that now is the time to pounce and to make the move. But he's 0.3 of a second ahead. But I tell you what, the gloves are going to be off here, because here now comes Beneke. Here now comes Phil Sell. Oh, there's Twitch! Contact. Big moment! A contact between the two of them. Job runs wide. Rogers walks wide. Here, Beneke is through into the lead. They'll have a slowdown penalty, the pair of them. And all of a sudden, they've gone from first and second down to third and fourth here as we look at the replay then. And Job, we thought he had just enough of a gap to stay ahead going into the Della Roja, but look at the slipstream that Rogers gets, and then onto the brakes just that little bit too late, and front to rear contact bumps him off the road, and that affects both drivers then, dropping down the field. So Rogers down to fourth place, but still is in a comfortable position, but that could potentially end up being a stewards review there for Josh.
Definitely, especially when it's this important in terms of the championship. As it stands though, Beneke finishing P1 and Rogers finishing P4. Rogers still takes the championship on points. Of course, that is pending any stewards investigation after the race. So you can see Beneke now, he is all on his lonesome, apart from the company of Jared Filsell at the front of the field. Jared, he might just be sniffing basically $1,000 here if he's lucky, because, you know, when you're in this position, you don't care about anyone else's championship. He's going to go for the move down the inside, coming in towards the Rettifilio. Beneke is not going to defend it all that much. Phil Sell through to the race lead.
All of a sudden, as we mentioned, the gloves were coming off, and it's picking up. Business is picking up right here at the front of your field then. So Phil Sell to the front, Beneke in second, and it wouldn't be Phil Sell's first win if he did end up finishing there, because of course he won at Watkins Glen. for the Australian, so he'll want to finish the season off on a high, but Beneke, he wants to do everything he can in his power to do as well as possible to get his chance at a championship. But right now your front two are as they were across the line there, down through the Lesmos. Job is having to be a little bit defensive behind on Joshua Rogers as well. But Rogers right now, he's got a little bit of a gap behind him to Thomas Tutela, so he's quite comfortable. But Beneke, look at how close he's getting, but he's hanging back for the time being as we're into the final 5 minutes of not just this race but the championship. This is the final feature race of this season of the Porsche Esports Supercup. What a season it's been, drama filled, and well, down the back straight, heading towards the Parabolica, I would not write these two off from having a real ding-dong battle here, Connery.
Yeah, this would be absolutely fantastic to see. Beneke, he knows the championship is still very, very slim at this point, but you know, an extra $1,000 in the bank certainly isn't to be sniffed at. But now out of the Parabolica they go. You can see Job in the background going right towards the pit wall. Here comes the battle for the race lead. Then this is Beneke back down the inside of the Australian in towards the Retafilio, side by side down into here, just half a car length in it. But Beneke has been able to work his way by on that Apex Racing Team car, the Australian of Phil Sell. So Beneke back where he needs to be. He just needs Rogers to fall even further.
Wow, that was beautiful. Beautiful shot and beautiful move from Beneke. It's what you expect down into the Retafilio. Those two leaders are still going side by side in towards the chicane at the Della Roggia, but Sebastian Job ahead of Joshua Rogers, Englishman, and the Australian, third and fourth place. Rogers still wants to finish off as well as he can do in this championship and in this race. He wants to get as good a result as he can to cement himself as a potential champion. But out of the second Lesmo, Job got a good run out of the second Lesmo there, to be fair. He's just pulled out a little bit of a gap, but the slipstream once again comes into effect down here towards the Escara chicane, but Rogers not close enough to make a move here. 3 minutes remaining in this race, so we'll get about 2 more laps of this one here, and well, I don't want this one to end. This has been absolutely fantastic to watch. A couple of cars further down in that queue of traffic running very wide. It's Hutu and De Jong, and they're going side by side as they're heading down towards the Parabolica, both running very wide on the exit of Ascari. And Hutu, well, he realises that isn't going to happen going into the Parabolica, but he can maybe get the run coming out the corner. De Jong up into 7th place ahead of Hutu in 8th.
Yep, Hutu looking strong. Here comes the move for the race lead once again. Phil Sell drivers left-hand side coming down the pit straight. Yet another swap of position for these two, maybe. Down in towards the chicane they go. Phil Sell's gone very, very deep on the brakes. Lock up there on that front right tyre, but he's able to slip his way through regardless of that fact. So Beneke now back down to P2. These leaders have been swapping positions what seems like every single lap here. Beneke's not done. There's the opening up on the inside there of Curva Grande. It's the outside line, has to be taken into the Della Roggia. Beneke, he backs out of it though. He knows how dangerous going side by side through turn 4 and 5 is.
But look at who's been brought into this battle now. Sebastian Job is here. He wants a piece of this action now. Josh Rogers must be absolutely loving this right now, because these two battling at the front has brought the rest of the field to the lead battle, and all of a sudden we have got a 10-car queue for the lead of this race here. What a fantastic demonstration of what the series is all about. Great action as always here in the Porsche Esports Supercup. And Beneke, he's looking into the Ascari chicane. He's not giving this one up. He wants the win desperately to finish off the season on a high. Through the Ascari chicane they go for the penultimate time. They're going to have the white flag come out at the start of the next lap, and Beneke now is lining him up. He wants to get by Phil Sell. You can see him get closer, but it won't happen at this point. It's going to be on the exit of the Parabolica now. start of your final lap of the championship. 4 drivers together here for the race lead, 3 of them championship contenders. Beneke looking to the outside early on here. He wants to make this move and try and do it around the outside into Rettifilio. Here comes Sebastian Job looking to the inside. Can he make the move? No, he won't. Beneke is up into the lead. Job is trying to get into second place. Will he make it work? Yes, he will. He forces Phil Sell wide. Here comes Rogers now, side by side with the Australian. 2 Australians side by side now for 3rd place on the podium. What is going to happen between the 2 of these? Because Rogers got a good run out the corner, but Phil Sell has got the slipstream. He's holding defensive line. He's now trying to attack Sebastian Job here into the Della Roggia for the final time. Beneke, Job, Phil Sell, Rogers. Then there's Tatella, Fluke, De Jong, Hutu, Umashima and Kevin Ellis Jr. all the way down the field. In fact, Umashima's lost a position there, but what a final lap this is proving to be, and we're only halfway around here as we head on out of the second Lesmo now. What can these drivers do? Beneke, he's got to hope and pray that he gets a brilliant run through the Ascari chicane to try and give himself as much of a gap as possible heading into the Parabolica. He needs the lap of the gods right here as they head on through the Ascari chicane, but Job is there with him. He's right on the tail of that Porsche in front of him. It's the German versus the Englishman as they're heading towards the end of this race. What can Job do here? We've seen close finishes in World Championships here before in the past, and here we go, Parabolica, last time, Phil Sell looking to the inside of Job. Job's trying to get the run out the Parabolica. Who's it going to be across the line? It's going to be Max Beneke who's going to take the final feature race victory here in the Porsche Esports Supercup across the line. What a finish that was, but what a finish also for Joshua Rogers. 4th place for him across the line. Provisionally, pending any investigations, provisionally he is the champion of the 2019 Porsche Esports Supercup.